Hi folks, I'm here with a new shut up and playtest. First one, I'm going to playtest the Hanna Grudge rules set. More on this later. Let me introduce the situation to you in the following clips. Enjoy. Hello ASLers, it's Mark, Hothead Thundermouth, bringing to you not Shut Up and Play, but Shut Up and Play Test. Yes, that's right. I will be playing a campaign game of Hatten in Flames. You can see right there the rule book. Also take a look. I have gone posh on my tabletop. I have one solid, I guess, masonite board with acrylic plexiglass here to use as one solid piece, so I should have a much cleaner look on my videos now. So this will be a 5-day campaign game of Hatten in Flames CG1. I've set up the reinforcements here. The German reinforcements will be coming in from the north, and the Americans will be coming in from the south. And there's the onboard setup troops right here. Okay, so that's all been set up. I'm ready to go. I've even got room for these things on there. I hardly ever get to play with stuff like that. So that's it. I'm going to have this all set up. The second part of this video, I'm going to present to you the 6 Hanna Grudge rules for ASL to see how they work. Trying to get rid of some nonsensical behaviors. When you change rules for house rules, there's always the danger of creating some additional nonsensical behaviors that you didn't think of. That's why we play test. So obviously this isn't going to be a opponent-based play test, but I just want to play test my own rules for getting rid of vehicle bypass movement, rules for skulking, rules for excessive half squatting, rules for overly effective snipers, couple more, shape charged weapons, effectiveness versus thicker or sloped armor, and there's one more in there that I've got. I'll be showing you a complete list of all those. So anyway, here we go. I'll be setting this map up and showing it to you later. I haven't decided how I'm going to do this CG video-wise. Sometimes it's well received if I do a complete turn-by-turn analysis of everything. Other times people watch the first episode vociferously, and then they get bored quickly with follow-ups. So just keep in mind, though, that part of this is a play test to try different rules. So when those come up, I'll probably isolate on actual gameplay at that point. Because, in Hatten and Flames, there's a lot of vehicles. And when I played before versus opponents, I've only really played vassal opponents. This is the first time I've actually got to set up the map. Generally speaking, there's a lot of VBM Freeze that's used. There's a lot of skulking that's used. Why is there so much skulking? Well, you can see all the buildings, right? So there's plenty of places to skulk. I'm going to put a stop to that nonsense and play more of a stand-up fight. Yes, of course, without VBM, there's still a possibility to do vehicle bypass movement, but it's going to be risky. It's going to be easier just to shoot from a distance or pull up to point-blank range. Since the heat isn't quite as effective versus thicker armor, you might be able to get away with that with some Panthers and stuff. So, anyway, that's what we'll be doing. So, just really quick on the OBAs, you can see that the Americans have some tank destroyers in OBA. The Germans have purchased OBA in a bombardment. This is their onboard force. Then they've got quite a bit of armor coming in. Here's the 2 companies coming in that can come in on the 9th. And then we've got some tanks, a couple Panthers, and some Stugs. The Americans have a lot of infantry reinforcements and some tanks. And it takes him a while to get to the front, though. Probably be using some of these tanks as rider carriers, except on the first game turn, or first scenario, they can't come in till turn 3. So the utility, the Americans are going to have to do a lot of slogging in this. Usually what will happen is the Germans will get as far as they possibly can, trying to take this steeple, put some HMG up there so it can fire across this tundra here. It's all ground snow. To try to keep the Americans pinned down if possible. And you see the Germans will come in and try to take these buildings, and they'll start to become a big fight around here, which is kind of important because if the Germans win and can get around this corner, it really makes the Americans' job hard because there's certain victory locations in different places. There's an odd victory location area here at this cemetery, which is really hard to deal with because you can't put too much over here or the OBA will come in. So it's usually a small unit action back and forth over here unless the OBA has been depleted. Germans will come in on this line. So it's a quite exciting fight. Great scenario, and I want to see how it works with the new proposed Hanna Grudge rule system. We'll see how it goes. Alright, I'll do another set of this video going over the special rules, the Hanna rules. I haven't really figured out what else to call them at the moment. I'm not trying to make some kind of a statement here that I know better than other people. I just know I don't like these rules coming up all the time and making games boring. Skulking, VBM Freeze. You know, neither one of them is actually done in combat the way they portray it. That's the thing that's most egregious about them. Alright, more on that rant later. Signing off from here, leaving the battlefield for the moment. Hey everybody, it's Mark Hanna, Hothead Thundermouth here, coming to you psychologically immune from social media control, unscripted, uncensored, and unapologetic. Happy to present to you my new Hanna-style Grudge SSRs for ASL. I've been talking about these off and on for the past few months, and I'm going to do a playthrough of the Hatten in Flames campaign game using these rules. I want to see how well they work, because that's a very good testing pool for the rules like this, with a lot of vehicles in the scenario, a lot of buildings for skulking in the scenario. So here's the rules. I'm just going to show them to you quickly so you know what I'm doing here. So the first one is VBM Freeze Nuke using the Denant SSR DN11. You really can't end your movement phase with a vehicle in enemy units' hexes. That means hex, not just location. You can't go driving into a 2-story building, popping up the lid and saying, "Hi," and forcing those guys not to be able to fire out of the hex. You can't do that little cheesy trick anymore, which I have used to win scenarios before. So, not anymore. Okay, so very few conditions allow you to do that. You can see, if it's under recall or something. Here, I'll highlight that. I'm going to keep an emergency VBM freeze in there to allow an AFV to try it under desperate situations after passing a 2-task check, but if you fail, you get stunned. So it's definitely a risky proposition. Okay, number 2 is less controversial, mandatory repair. If you got a broken gun, a broken machine gun on a tank, this usually only applies to vehicles and usually only to main armament. This is where people disable their gun, so they drive around in their tank pretending they are not going to repair it so that they can keep the tank on the battlefield using the machine guns and particularly using it for VBM freeze. It's ludicrous. and this rule puts a stop to it. Now, one of the reasons people don't like to try to repair their main armament on their battle tank, I mean, the whole idea sounds stupid, doesn't it, when you think about it? The main reason people do it is because they get recalled if they're disabled. So I remove that rule too. What happens is you can keep your tank on the battlefield with a disabled MA. I suppose you could even exit for victory conditions. No reason not. But if you do get hit, it'll be treated just like an immobilized vehicle. And if the TK number is 5 or less, you'll have to take a task check and might have to bail out and abandon the vehicle. So that's the risk you take if you keep it on. You can always go ahead and agree to, okay, I'll take it off. I will subject myself to recall and get it off the field of battle. You might want to do that if it's in danger of getting destroyed anyway. But you have to make that decision, and if you decide to keep it on the battlefield, then you're subject to the provisions of the task check rule. Mandatory repair. I think it makes a lot of sense. Number 3, stop sneaking around and fight like a man rule. This is to prevent skulking. You have to use the skulking and hunker down rules that I've developed here, which basically lets you, if you leave a hex that can be fired on with an effect at a reasonable level, you can't go back in. You're not with the advanced phase or assault move. You can't be doing the old switcheroo. Now, if you want to run some units from another portion of the map and come in the regular movement phase, not using assault movement, you can do that and expose yourself to the risk of that. But otherwise, if you want to keep that hex, you'll have to hunker down and get an extra +2 DRM. It's actually going to be treated as if it's a hindrance DRM, so that flamethrowers will also be subject to a +2 as if it were smoke. Okay? But no more skulking. If you're going to leave a hex, you can't come back in through the back door and pretend you never left. That's what skulking lets you do. No more of that. That can be fixed. Okay? Now, these rules are all practical rules that I think will work. They may or may not work. I'll be playtesting them. No point in having SSRs if you don't try them out. And I won't subject anybody else to trying them out until I've perfected them a little bit more. Okay. So that's the hunker down rules and the skulking rules. Kind of long, unfortunately. It's a little tricky to make sure that skulking can't be done, which might be why they try never to actually do anything about it. All right. Overpowered Sniper rule. This is where, when you fire that light mortar and you get a sniper roll to get the hit, maybe it's a SAN of 3 the opponent has. So you hit with a 3, and then you get an effects roll of 3, which means he gets to take 2 sniper rolls for a piddly little 50mm mortar. No more. Okay. I don't know why they didn't fix this. They could have done it originally because they already have set it up so that TK rolls are not subject to sniper rolls. But anything on the IFT is. So if you get a hit with HE and then you resolve it using the IFT, then there's 2 sniper roll possibilities. That's ridiculous. Okay, I think you should only get 1 chance. So if with basically, since they're right back to back, once you get the 2 hit, you're going to roll the effect roll. So basically that's 1. Both rolls could possibly be a sniper roll, but you only get 1 chance out of the 2. You don't get double chances for snipers. Okay, that's that rule. Next, this is squad leader, not half squad leader rule. All right, this will probably be the most controversial rule, I think. Well, I could be wrong about this, but I'm tired and sick and tired of seeing all these half squads running around the battlefield in their independent fashion, doing their cheesy little tricks. I don't mind it so much that you have some half squads out there. But what this rule does is you can still do that if you want to. If you want to deploy everybody, go ahead. But now half squads receive an extra +1 DRM when being rallied. Okay, now remember, they already have reduced morale, and now it's an extra +1 when they try to rally on top of that. So that's going to make them harder to rally. So it's going to make it a little more precious to have half squads that are broken all over the place, because you won't necessarily be able to rally them as easily with your 8-0 and 7-0 leaders. It's not going to be as simple as before. Okay, just trying to find a way to mitigate this half squad thing. Does that penalize half squads that are created during the normal casualty reduction process and things like that? Yeah, sure, of course it does. I was just trying to think of an easy way to do it that might work. There's other ways to do it, but they require a lot more bookkeeping, like maximum number of half squads per scenario or something like that. I was trying not to have to do the Panzerfaust counting kind of approach to it. This last rule, number 6, I just want to try this. There was a rule in the Korean War module. The Korean War module has a shaped charge weapons ineffectiveness. If you roll a 6, it could be a dud, and it won't actually possibly penetrate. I think that's because they've looked at the results of shaped charge weapons here in ASL, and they're too effective. So they tried to fix that in the Korean module because the bazookas were well known not to be able to take out the T-34-85s, whereas normally they could very easily do that. So I'm going to apply that rule here in Hatten and Flames and see what happens. So yes, you can't go ahead and... now remember, this could work with a Panzerfaust too, or a Panzer Schreck. This reflects the deflection off of sloped armor. Of course, not every tank had sloped armor like that, not like the T-34s. Those were notoriously effective on their sloping. But just to keep the shape of the... these are it's hard to say. Shape-charged weapons a little bit more in line. This will give the survivability of AVFVs in close proximity a little better chance. You're not going to be able to use VBM Freeze to take buildings anymore, so you're going to have to use armored assaults and come up with point-blank range shots. And it's going to be a little harder to do the cheesy way of taking buildings. It was never done in World War II. They didn't take tanks and run them in there and then keep them in motion with the engine running and saying, hello, hello, you got to shoot at me. Okay, that's not what happened. It is not what happened. And ASL, shame on you for not fixing this a long time ago. All right, that's the end of my rant. Okay, I'm going to append this with my intro to the scenarios of Hatten and Flames. And I'm looking forward to getting started on that project. So that's it. Hothead Thundermouth signing off. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching. Give me a like if you liked it. Subscribe, please. See ya.